What are the 5 biggest lies when buying new construction home or working with a builder? Here they are. Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group, your favorite Austin realtor. Now, we have a lot of clients who end up doing new construction. And for over the last 10 years, I've seen the gamut run when it comes to lies or what is being thought of when you're buying new construction. So I'm gonna go through the 5 biggest lies. Well, I may go more than 5 lies. In fact, the last one on this list is probably the biggest, so stay tuned for that. So let's get right into it. Okay, let's start with lie number 1. Now, this one is one that should be self-explanatory, but it's really not, because some people just don't understand. When you see the marketing of these properties or from these builders, especially online, you're gonna see a price that says from this price. That is never the actual price. When buyers or clients go through and look at new construction, they'll go in and let's say this house is listed at $450,000, which fits your budget. But what happens is you actually have to pay an upgrade for the lot. If you're building, you have to pay upgrades for this, and this. And so that home that might be $450,000, all said and done, is $500,000 or more. I've seen so many homes that have added $200,000, $300,000 from their base price. Prime example, my wife just worked with a client. The advertised base price was $550,000 for a property. My clients, after all the upgrades, after everything, spent $850,000. Now, when you walk into a model home, what you're gonna see is all these beautiful upgrades, right? And the builders do that to showcase what they can actually do. But when you look at the standards list, the standard list is like level 1 on everything. So when you're going through, if you like those nice cabinets that are in the model, those are probably level 5. So that's going to add a lot to the budget. The countertops they're showing maybe are a 3 centimeter, but they only offer a 2 centimeter as their basic. And then you have to upgrade from there. That's something I think that you really need to pay attention to. The other thing when it comes to pricing is you might see in a neighborhood where it says price drop, price drop, price drop, price drop. Well, if you actually go into the MLS, you'll actually see where they price increased, and then they're dropping the price from there. So I've seen it so many times where a home's listed like maybe at $800,000, right? And they're like, oh, it price dropped 30 grand. The initial list price was $650,000 or $700,000, and they've raised it over the time. And as the builders go on, they will raise the prices every month, because as they sell homes, they raise the prices on the other homes. All right, let's talk about one that I think is really important, and that's that you can trust the builder. Now, I see a lot of buyers walk straight into a model home or whatever, and they immediately think, oh, this is beautiful, and they start believing everything they're heard. Here's the honest truth. Over the last 10 years, I've worked with a lot of really, really good builder reps, and I've worked with a lot of really, really bad builder reps. I've also worked with a lot of really good construction managers and a lot of really bad construction managers. What you get is going to be different in every community. Here's a prime example. Recently, Eileen just closed a property on new construction where the builder, they had an inspection done in the pipe underneath the home. There was a bubble in the pipe. And this is, one of the main drains. The builder said, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. The inspector saying it's a big deal. How do we not been there and fought? Like, Eileen legitimately had to go to the VP, the president of the company, to get this fixed. They ended up having, before we closed, dig up all of the tile, all of the flooring, put a gigantic hole in the middle of the floor and get it fixed. If they had not had us there advocating for that, the builder would have just said, oh, no big deal, and moved on. Now, look, I've worked with a lot of good builder reps as well. I've had builder reps, though, that they will promise you the world, and then when things get down to it, they're not actually there. So it's really good to have somebody on your side as well, navigating that and helping you and understanding what is and what isn't, because I've seen a lot of scenarios where clients will reach out to us after they started building. They didn't call us ahead of time, and then the builder's telling them something that's not true, or the builder rep is telling something that's not true. Now, again, I don't want to talk poorly about builder reps. I have a lot of really, really great builder reps that I've worked with, but over 10 years of selling homes, I've seen a lot of good ones. I know who the good ones are. I know who the ones not to trust are. And so it's really important that you don't just believe everything the builder's telling you, because they'll be telling you, like when you're doing a walkthrough like this, and you're looking at a home, they'll tell you, oh, that's fine. That's no big deal. That's no big deal. And then I'll be walking through with my client doing this. And at the end of our conversation, at the end of the meeting, we'll go, hey, look, there's some really big red flags here. Let's get these red flags addressed. Here's something else that's really important. The builder and the builder rep do not represent you in that capacity. They are there to sell the home. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be nefarious all the time, but their number one job is to sell you a home. They don't represent you. They don't represent your interests. In fact, the builder rep represents the builder's interests. So something to think about there. Let's get to the next tip. One common myth that I hear all the time is that I want to go to new construction because I'm going to save money. Now, here's what's interesting about that is that builders are going to offer you incentives to buy their home. So typically when you go to new construction, they're going to offer you a lender incentive. So if you use their lender, you're actually going to save money because they're going to give you all of these things. The reality is sometimes that's not actually the truth. If you actually look at the lender fees, they could be higher than others, and it's a whole mess sometimes. Really, I would recommend that if you're going to go to new construction, already have a pre-approval in place and know what your good faith estimate is, because when you actually look at the bottom line, it may not be the same and it may not actually be a savings. And the other thing is, think about it. All of those savings you're getting, you are paying for. Here's the honest truth. Most new construction homes are going to be more expensive than buying a resale home. Now, we are in a market right now where if you were to, the markets aren't gonna always be like this, but if I were to take a client into a property that's listed resale and it's newer and fresh and looking great, we could go in and actually negotiate a lot of closing costs and get a rate buy down. One thing that the builders are offering right now a lot of is these rate buy downs and getting you a lower interest rate. You're still paying for those. So definitely make sure you're paying attention to those things. Now, here's the other thing is people think that buying new construction is going to save money because it's new. That's not necessarily the case, because reality is the home's going to be more expensive. And if you buy a new construction home, a lot of the times the things in the home aren't going to be 100% as well. There's going to be things that you still need to upgrade. Maybe you save some money here or there. Well, you're still going to have to go pay for those things that have upgraded secondarily. Now, some of those things are probably better to update secondarily, but if you would have bought a resale home and done some of those things, you actually probably would have saved a lot of money buying resale. Now, it's not brand new. Long story short, you're not always going to save money by buying new construction. There are a lot of benefits to buying new construction over resale, and we can go through that later in this video. Now, here's another common misconception I hear, or almost a lie, that the reason why people want to buy new construction is you get a home warranty. Let's talk home warranties, because the reality is that you get a 1, 2, 10 warranty. So the 1 will fix cosmetics and things like that. 2 will fix, for the 2 year, will fix any of the appliance issues. This one's new construction. You can already tell that they're fixing the stove back there. And then you have a 10-year structural warranty. What I've seen happen with a lot of these warranties is that builders will, as you get closer to closing, instead of actually fixing some of the things so you can close on time, and that's another thing, is thinking that builders close on time. They'll never close on time. It's very hard. And I'm not saying that builders purposely don't close on time. It's really hard for them to manage the time. Sometimes it's the builder, the construction manager, sometimes it's the trades, which we should talk about trades. They'll push some of the stuff on the warranty to get those items fixed on the warranty, and then they don't get fixed, or they take a long time. And when you fill out that warranty request after the first year to fix cosmetic things, I've had where they were supposed to fix a lot of things at one of my properties. This was a Lennar build home. Well, it was initially a Village Builders home, which was more about their high end, but then it got put over to Lennar. And they would not fix anything in my house. It was all cosmetic. So one thing that you'll see is cracks in the corners come up, maybe nail pops. So nails came through the ceiling. Little cosmetic things like that they were supposed to fix, they didn't fix. There's a lot of things that we had on our personal property with the counter that needed to be fixed, and they just wouldn't fix it even though it was cosmetic. So don't really expect that because you're getting a home warranty, they're actually gonna fix all those items. The reality is these builders don't necessarily always wanna fix those items, and a lot of times they're gonna say it's your fault that those items showed up. Now, I'm not saying that builders are terrible and bad, but this is a reality. Have you ever had a home warranty or any warranty? Look at even your insurance. Your insurance tries not to pay when you get in a car accident, right? So that's something to think about. Now, one other thing is, will builders actually fix it? Here's one thing that I've seen, and this can be a challenge too, is let's say there is something wrong in the home as they're building it, right? You expect that they're gonna fix it and get it done correctly. It doesn't always happen. And again, it's not that it could be a bad builder, but I've seen after the fact, lots of lawsuits. Now there's a lawsuit going on here in Dripping Springs, so I'm shooting in Dripping Springs today. I'm not gonna tell you the builder because I don't wanna disparage this builder. In fact, I love this builder, but I've seen several times where there's a lawsuit after the fact. So if you think that the builder is going to build it correctly the first time, the reality is maybe not true. So like this is a prime example, Lennar is in lawsuits on the east side of Austin still because they had it in Bradshaw Crossing. They had a ton of foundations fail years after. Now that foundation is part of the 210 warranty, right? 210 warranty, but they didn't want to fix some of those. And there were so many failed foundation issues that they just didn't get them fixed. So the reality is that if you think that the builder is going to build it right the first time, no, they're not. And then this is a good example of why you should have a realtor helping you, A, but B, why you need to have a really, really good inspections. You think that the trades that come in, no, here's a secret. The trades don't actually work for the builder. Right? So if you think like when you go to a builder that everybody works underneath them, the tile guys, they're just companies that sub out, and that's why we had so many issues during the pandemic. Oh yeah, and let me tell you a story about trusting builders. I had a client one time building down in a community in San Marcos. Great community overall, but part of the community was actually in a flood zone. Now this builder did not want to tell buyers that there was a flood zone. Now, and that some of these homes may need flood insurance. So we went under contract on this build and I started researching it and I found the fact that there was a flood zone that backed up to one of these properties. The builder would not do anything. They wouldn't refund my client their earnest money. In fact, we spent weeks trying to get their earnest money back and they flat out lied. They didn't let us know and they didn't disclose to the buyers that there was a flood zone that backed up to it. Now you might not think that that's a big deal, but in Texas, a 500-year flood zone could easily turn into a 100-year flood zone. In fact, the maps are constantly changing. So something to think about when you're buying, especially in an area, you definitely want to check the flood map and the flood areas because they're not always going to tell you the truth. The other one that I had that was pretty bad, I did a full video on this neighborhood called Sky Ridge. It's down in Dripping Springs, and it's a milestone build. Now, they didn't really want to disclose the fact that the homes, for every 12 homes, they're on one septic. And so I had a client who wasn't a client of mine. They reached out to me afterwards like, hey, we're under contract. Can you give us help? And the reality is if you already go under contract with the builder, they will not let an agent help you after that point. So, but they weren't disclosing the fact that there is 12 homes for one septic. Now, that neighborhood is having issues with septics backing up, and they were not disclosing that fact to potential buyers. So think about that as well. Not every builder is going to be honest with you. And I think that's really, really important. I'm trying to drive this point home is that they're not all bad, but not all of them are honest. Just like not every real estate agent's good. There's a lot of bad real estate agents. That's why I have my wife. She's amazing. She's the better real estate agent than me because I always say I'm the best, your favorite. She's the best. Okay, let's talk about the last on this list. Now, this one's really important because it's just important. Number one, when you walk into new construction, a lot of times these builders don't want realtors to work with you. So they will tell you that you save money by not using a realtor. Now, let's be honest, the commission that comes out of our side does not actually come through the sale of that home. It actually comes from their marketing budget. Yes, it's tied to that amount, but it's not necessarily coming out of the sale of that home. Every builder has a little bit different. So it comes out of the marketing budget. You're not necessarily saving money that way. In fact, the builder doesn't necessarily want you to use a realtor because then they don't have anybody to fact check all of the things I just told you about. So I've seen a lot of clients that will walk in a new build, and even sometimes they'll walk in and say, oh, they'll ask, do you have a realtor? Or maybe they don't even ask if you have a realtor, and then they'll tell you, oh, you save money. The people that save money on that transaction are actually the builder by you not having a realtor. And on top of that, you don't have anybody representing you. Now think about it. You can go do it by yourself, but there's a lot of horror stories, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me post and say, hey, I need help, but I can't. You're already under contract. The builder's not gonna let me take over and help. So you don't actually save money. And then when you run into problems, you don't have anybody in your back. Like, okay, I've heard people or realtors say that, oh, it's like, representing yourself in court or doing surgery on yourself, whatever. Those are silly. It's actually like doing your taxes by yourself. Now you could do your taxes yourself, but you might not get all of the deductions and you might not actually save money by doing it yourself. It might actually save you money to use somebody who's actually going to represent your interests and make sure you don't get audited. That's the whole point. And that's my job as a real estate agent, and our job here at our team is to make sure that you don't get in trouble when you buy new construction. So think about that. You're not actually going to save money by not using a realtor. In fact, you're going to probably put yourself in jeopardy of having issues. And then when it comes down to having to sue the builder, you're not going to know which direction to go. So Jeremy 99 Group, your favorite Austin realtor. These are all the biggest lies that I've heard. Drop a comment below. Do you agree with them? Yes or no? Another reason why people think that going straight to the builder will save money instead of having an agent is the fact that, they offer incentives, and you think that without an agent, you'll be able to negotiate better incentives because you don't have an agent there. The reality is that we do so much work with the builders that we actually know of the extra incentives. And sometimes they'll even give us more incentives to bring you by, which means that we can either pass those on to you and actually help you with that as well. So we've actually negotiated several times more than what they're actually offering. So it's a good thing to know when you have agents that have really good relationships with some of these builders, you actually may get even more than you would have if you just walked in by yourself. Something to think about.